Just to confirm, can you all see the video has started the recording?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay. If it cuts half of it, you know,
Something weird's happening.
something
Then it
weird is
was meant
going
to
on.
be.
Yeah. All right. So today we're gonna talk about chapter 17, Transcending Duality, which is a pretty dense chapter. But before going to that, uh, I would like to close the last chapter. We were going and going, and there is still one topic I'd like to bring up for discussion. It is a good one before we jump to the chapter 17. And even before that, I would like to invite you to a meditation. What do you guys think?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, please.
Just a quick recap of the Merkaba meditation. So we're going to relax together. We're going to do the 17 breaths. So Mudra 1, we're going to put those two fingers together. The, the both palms will be resting on your legs. Second mudra, it is the second finger resting on your legs. Third mudra with the third finger and the thumb together, resting on your legs. 14th mudra, fourth finger with the thumb resting on your legs. And then we go back. Fifth breath, first mudra. Again, sixth breath, second mudra. And then we finally shift to the fifth mudra, which is this one, resting on your legs. Oh, sorry. Fifth mudra is this one, three fingers. And you're gonna keep this fifth mudra till the 14th breath, and then we change to this one. This is the sixth mudra. Just a quick recap, because I would just say the mudras when you're meditating, like I did last time, and don't get too caught up on the mudras and on the breath, on the pulsation. Let's just go with the flow. There's no right and wrong. And when I say pulse, if you feel it, just look down and up as we finish every breath. Okay? You guys with me? All right. So let's breathe deeply and breathe out. Get our back straight. Find the perfect spot where you feel comfortable, where you can feel the energy flowing through your spine. You can move forward and backward, to the left and to the right. Once you find your position, you can get still. Feel your body. Is there any part of your body hurting or any tension? Listen to your body for a minute while you breathe in and you breathe out. Now focus the energy on your feet. Feel, think, or imagine the grounding on your feet. Feel the love and truth from Divine Mother coming from the center of the earth, going up through your feet, your legs, rising up through your spine, feel her love, feel her support, feel her protection. With this loving energy, let's call upon our guides to be here with us. Breathe in deeply and prepare to make the first breath and the first mudra. Breathe in deeply, golden tetrahedron. Breathe out, earth tetrahedron. Pulse. Second mudra. Breathe in deeply, golden tetrahedron. Breathe out, earth tetrahedron. Pulse. Third mudra. Breathe in, golden tetrahedron. Breathe out, earth tetrahedron. Pulse. Breathe in, golden tetrahedron. Fourth mudra. And breathe out, earth tetrahedron. Pulse. First mudra, golden tetrahedron. Earth tetrahedron. Pulse. Second mudra, Breathe in golden tetrahedron. And breathe out earth tetrahedron. Pose. Fifth mudra. Breathe in as you feel, imagine, or visualize the pranic tube from the center of the earth going through your spine and shooting the center of the universe. Visualize a sphere of light in your solar plexus. Breathe in again. Allow the sphere of light to grow bigger and bigger. Breathe in. Sphere of light gets bigger and bigger. Breathe out. Breathe in deeply. And now there is a second sphere of light outside of your body. And those two spheres become golden. Breathe in. And feel this golden energy permeating your being. Breathe in. Thirteenth breath. Breathe in. And breathe out. Preparing to do the sixth mudra. 14th breath. Breathe in. Move the sphere of light from your solar plexus to your heart. Visualize your star tetrahedron and breathe out. Acknowledge the three layers of the star tetrahedron. Breathe in, 15 breath, equal speed. Feel the rotation of two of the star tetrahedrons in opposite directions, while the third one is still. Breathe in, 34, 21. Breathe in. 9/10 of the speed of light. Now set any intention that you feel in your Merkaba. Breathe in deeply. Or bringing your awareness to here and now. Bring awareness back to your body. Move your fingers bit by bit. Stretch anything you need. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. The one back on Earth.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It is. Okay, so let's step back on chapter 16. The last thing I wanted to bring back is the changing of guides, something he discussed in the chapter 16 and we didn't get the chance to talk about. And I think that's so interesting. So John Volu describes how he would change his guides or his angels across his path. So initially he would have the green and the purple angels. The green would be kind of the lower self from his perspective, Earth, and the purple would symbolize the higher self or the sun energy. And he would learn from those two guides. And at some point of his journey, he would have a third guide, a golden angel. And then those two guides would kind of sit on the back seat just watching while the golden angel will take over. And at that point, he was more responsible for his knowledge. He couldn't ask directly, he would need to get the knowledge by himself. And then he moves to a different guide, or different angel, which was the white angel, and that was teaching him simplicity. And then at some point he moves again to the colorless or the invisible angel, which was teaching him holiness. And then he had a final shift where two angels appeared to him, and that was Archangel Michael and Lucifer holding hands, and those were the last guides he had. And yeah, there's a lot there. Just the fact of changing guides. This is a deep perspective to me. I have read about it in other books and I have seen people going through that. I remember my mom going through this. She got depressed for a while, and one of her guides, a guy that was following her since she was a teenager, at some point she lost the connection with that guide and she felt depressed because it's like, oh, who am I now? I mean, I'm walking with this guide forever. And there's a book from Cryon, The Journey Home. I love this book. The Journey Home, the story of Michael Thomas and the Seven Angels. We have the Seven Angels here too. And Cryon would describe this shift or this guide change. And he explains that, like, this dark time that we go through, why we don't feel our guides anymore. And the reason for that is as you're changing yourself, you're getting a different perspective of your higher self and getting different guides. It's all about a perspective, right? You feel alone because for some time you don't have that being with you anymore. And he describes the same way I saw my mom living this process. So for me, it was very interesting. And here again with John Volo, the seven angels again. The seven is always there.
Yeah, man. Thanks for sharing. That's I don't have a like. So like I don't get like the guides. You know what I mean? I don't understand that really. Like, in my experience, I can't like differentiate that from me versus what I see is like myself. I guess aspects
Yeah.
of myself. Um, but I definitely like can relate with like the disconnected feeling. And it used to, be spaced out, but man, here recently it's like big contraction, you feel real disconnected, and then like a couple of days, big expansion, you feel really connected, and it's like oscillating or something. Now it's kind of weird, but I now that you put it that way, like or just kind of describe that, it's like I can I can start to see like what you mean by guides. I think like just from trying to explain it.
Yes.
It's a hard concept for me to
Yeah.
discern.
No, I love you asking that because I have written down here to talk about this because it is really a perspective, like to see that light as part of yourself, a different aspect of yourself, or seeing that as a different being, you know, depending on the culture, depending on the tradition you're studying, they relate that differently, right? For example, you like the Hindi culture, right? So how they relate with the gods and how you can invoke Kali, for example. You need protection, you're going to invoke Kali. Maybe in other traditions like in Banda or even in Spiritism, they'll have a guide that is like has more of a protection energy. And in a different perspective, you can be that being that you're evoking.
Yeah. Okay.
From Yeah, go ahead, Mandy.
Oh, I was just going to say, Elijah, I relate a lot to what you were saying about not feeling that connection or that awareness of guides and it feeling very foreign to me. And it's
Mhm.
interesting because the experience we were talking about last week on the call with the plant medicine experience we had was my first experience of truly feeling guides. And is it okay if I share that experience with you guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in this brief part of this experience, I felt these silhouettes around me, and I knew that it was my guides manifesting themselves to me because I've been asking for that, because I've been feeling like it was such a foreign concept to me that I didn't have a connection to. And so I feel like it was this gift of showing themselves to me so that I could create that relationship
Mhm.
and not feel like it was so foreign to me. And ever since that experience, it's felt very much like putting things together from the past of like, oh, that's what that was. Oh, that relationship. So it's been just like coming out of the woodwork, rather than feeling like this psychic ability that I don't possess to be able to be like keyed into that. So it's been a really cool experience over the last 2 weeks.
Wow. Thank you. That's awesome. So things are just like kind of falling into place, like coming together or something since then.
Yeah, I really feel like it's like being honest with myself of feeling like that's a psychic ability that I don't possess, and asking for that perception to be opened. I feel like my call for that was answered, of like showing itself, and then just being able to put things together in my mind of what those feelings have been, and creating relationships with those guides that it's like have been there, but my sensory perception was not open to be able to recognize it.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, thank
Yeah.
you so much for sharing that, Mandy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remind me, the first reason I took plant medicine a while back, it was to know my guides, to get to know them. It took so long.
Really?
Yes. But
Okay.
yeah, just describing this experience, you made me travel back in time. Thank you, Mandy.
Yeah, it's like I feel like so much of what we perceive as our abilities and what we as individuals are able to versus what other people are able to, that it's like we put ourselves in a box of what our abilities are. And more I'm recognizing that as we ask for things, as I ask for things, that it opens up, and it's not like this bam, like magical experience. It's just like that it just naturally unfolds itself. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Like a realization more of most of the time than
Yeah.
anything, like oh man, I don't know, it's weird. It's like you always knew
Yeah,
it too, kind of.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And one thing that is said that is very true is that when you call for it, you receive it. As you call for it, you start receiving like more and more. And it's definitely not a a day process, not something you call and will come right away. But if you persist, I mean, the things start disclosing to yourself, right?
Yeah. So when you say to call for it, uh, so do you mean like on every level, essentially, that you can?
So for
Do you
me, for
understand?
example, I'll give you an example. I'll try to answer that. For me, when I start, at some point, I wanted to know more guides of mine. I knew few, and I start doing an anchoring meditation, calling for not just for all the guides in different levels, like the anchor we did the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and just for through doing that anchoring every day, some names start popping up in my mind, some images starting popping up in my mental screen, and I start realizing that intuitions I had in the past, just like Mandy said, things that you lived through, you had a perspective, and through that experience, I had a different perspective that I was being helped by those beings that are always with me, but I don't perceive them often, but they are always by my side.
It's another really cool thing that I was thinking about this today is I'm the type of person that I don't like to bother people. Like I don't like to ask for things and bother people. And I recognized also with that like I felt like I was bothering my guides, like, oh, I don't want to bother them, and then I recognized like, no, they want to help me.
Yes.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, oh, they're probably busy doing more important things. No, they're not.
They're
Yeah.
there for you.
This is it.
Yeah, that's really big. Kind of gives you some more like, self-worth and, what I mean, like
Yes.
value. You're more important than we think, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
And they do want to, that's the thing, they do want to work with us. They do want us to listen to them. I remember when back last year when I was doing my Akashic records with a therapist, at some point one of my guides start telling the therapist, "Hey, I need to talk to him directly." That was the message that my guide was telling the therapist. Like, hey, he needs to open up so he can listen to me because I'm speaking to him, but he's just not listening. That
Wow.
was like, yeah. And nowadays, this same guy that the therapist saw, he's in all of my Akashic Records openings. He's driving them and he's helping me like a ton. So in the past was some intuition, then someone else starts seeing that being, and now he talks directly to me. So that connection, that relationship was created with time and intent. It didn't came from nowhere.
Mhm.
Just another example.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
And to close this topic, the three levels of the being, that was the name of the chapter. And just another perspective from Cryon. He says about the three levels of consciousness, and he has a different perspective. Like the first level, it's like you're in a boat in the middle of the sea, and you're in the middle of the storm, and there's chaos, there's fear, and you have no idea where you're going. The second level of consciousness is the level where you trust. So you trust the wind will blow, you trust God will put everything in its place and you go back on land. But then the third level is where you trust, but you get the wheel, you get the boat. What is the name of that wheel?
Oh shoot, I don't remember.
You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So you get on that and you're driving the boat with spirit, you're co-creating. And I like how this relates to what Drunvalo said in this chapter, that he was relying on his guides to get more information, but at some point the golden angel was asking him to get the information from his source, to get the information from his higher self, instead of just give him the information. I relate like that step of connecting with the golden angel from Drunvalo. That's what I connect with this third level of consciousness that Cryon describes, of co-creation. You don't just trust to happen, but you co-create. You put your intention to create with spirit, and you create something that's better, not just for yourself, but for the community with spirit. And for me, that's the best definition of co-creation. We're not just creating from the ego, we're creating from the higher self, from our higher self to the world. So I really like how he puts it, and another way of seeing the three levels of the being.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Or at least that's the way I see it. Man, that's especially like the co-creating, portions. It's been coming up a lot, in things that I've been researching and reading and whatnot. Yeah, I don't even know if the ego is able to be in that state. Once you're truly co-creating or whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild. Just to think
When you,
about.
when you say the ego, meaning like lowercase ego or uppercase ego?
I mean, like
I'll-
personal self.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like your personal desires?
Yeah, like the low. I guess you love maybe like lower desires or like anything that would benefit a personal separate self, separate from the whole. I guess is what I refer to it as.
Yeah.
I think,
it's interesting that that's an interesting exercise, right? To be able to differentiate, and sometimes it takes time, right? Like a little bit of space between differentiating what I would call like the lowercase ego and the uppercase ego, right? Because it's like it's not that our ego entirely is a bad thing, but it's like being able to differentiate like which one has the wheel,
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to actually separate from either, right, before you can discern which is which, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have to have that, like you said, that space before you can even recognize. It's on.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like that lowercase ego, it's always teaching us something. When we're aware, looks like it's a constant teacher. Because as soon as you behave from that point of view, you show a shadow of yourself that needs to be worked. That's how I'm feeling. I mean, because just like you were saying, Elijah, with the contraction and expansion, nowadays that's how I feel too. But the thing is, when I go to the contraction, man, it is like a teacher, right away. It is like a teacher. It's like, Myron, why didn't you learn this yet?
Yeah. The other day, it was like it felt like it happened so fast. It felt like I was trying to heal like my inner child one day, and it was like the very next day, it seemed like that inner child turned into my higher self and was like teaching me. It was like like that's just what it felt like. It's like whoa, it was so fast. You could really put them together, but so who knows?
Were you able to heal the inner child?
What's that?
Were you able to work with the inner child?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So sometimes it's needed, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, and then talking about duality, ego with the lowercase, then it's a good hook for the chapter 17 and transcending duality. For me, it's almost shocking the the perspective he puts about living in a Lucifer experiment. I feel like I'm still digesting that idea of living, or at least digesting that perspective of living in an experiment that, I mean, we don't know what's going to be yet. And the way he puts, like, how Lucifer wanted to separate himself from God, but not just separate, but be better. And that's where he started creating another universe. I have heard some other very similar perspectives. Even Matthias, when I was with him in Mount Shasta, he brought that up, and he mentioned that God asked Lucifer to be the most enlightened archangel. But how to be the most enlightened if you are already enlightened? There is no process there. So Matthias said that Lucifer, to follow this path, to be the most enlightened, he became the one with the lowest light, or he became the darkness itself so he could make the path upward to the light. And that was the journey he was going through. And that puts an interesting perspective about the need of both, the need of duality. Because just like we were talking about the lowercase ego and how it is a teacher, and it is a teacher. Like without acknowledging our shadows, it is hard to find that gift. And I don't know if you guys perceive in that way, but I feel like that the same energy can be a gift or a shadow depending on how you use that energy. So it's almost like every shadow hides a gift, and
Yeah.
it's just the which side of the coin you're gonna look at.
Yeah.
It is. It is. I think was it on one of these calls? I can't remember if it was on one of these calls or a conversation that we were having. You had mentioned something, Myron, about everything is it's either love or need for love,
Yeah.
right? That it's like nothing is separate from love. It's on that spectrum and the duality, right? It's either the presence of love or the lack of love. And so it makes a lot of sense to me in that way.
Maybe when that lower ego appears and we act from that lowercase ego, it is a call for love. I guess we need to love that aspect of us to start with, because if we are the whole, then we're everything. We're both light and shadow. So I mean, start acknowledging that. I guess it's the first step to acknowledge we are everything.
Mhm.
We are the
Yeah.
one.
Absolutely. You have to accept every piece of it, right? Like, and that's, it's like, I guess if you when you get triggered by something, like a lot of people like shut down or try to pull back, but it's really like that should be the thing that you're looking into, right? Like, why am I being triggered by
Yes.
this? Like, why do I feel defensive that this thing about me is being attacked or whatnot? Yeah, it's always looking inward, right? Constantly and accepting and accepting and accepting. I think that's the way.
It is.
Yeah.
And being aware of those moments, because they are teachers. Again, I'm saying this a lot because that's what I'm realizing. When my shadow calls me, nowadays is okay, look at this and see what it has to teach you. Don't run away of your shadow. Don't run away of the mistake of the error, whatever it is. This is calling your attention for some reason.
Probably the most important thing you need to learn right then, right? Or else it wouldn't be coming up.
Yes.
It's a door. It's a door.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Dang.
And another spice to bring to this is I was watching The Circle of 12 last week. It is a show from the Tryon team. And there was this girl, Elizabeth April. She channels some beings from the Galactic Federation. And she asked the Galactic Federation where darkness will be in this new world after or during the planetary shift. Just the question itself is amazing. But then the answer she got is the light and the darkness will be more evident. The darkness will not disappear, it will just become evident. And we, as we go through the fifth dimensional or the fifth dimension, and we start living as multidimensional beings, we will live more in the neutrality, being able to acknowledge light and dark. So it's not like darkness will disappear. Light and darkness will be together, and we will come from a place of love and neutrality that can see the meaning of both sides. I thought it's so profound.
Yeah, no, it's perspective, right? Like, man, what's the word? Equanimity.
Equanimity, yes.
Right? Yeah, it's just like you said. Both, there's the two faces of the coin. Where, like, when you're able to have that equanimous state, you can like zoom out and just see it's a coin, right?
Yes.
I mean, what's the difference in one face or another? It's just a thing at that point. So yeah, it's really uh, a big shift in understanding from how how you would originally think like, oh, this big shit's going to happen, all evil or bad is going to go away. Well, no, it's really like your perception of there's not such good and bad, right? It's just laws of nature, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think also in that, I see it in my mind's eye that things are becoming less and less ambiguous, that it's more and more clear and not so much kind of like hiding behind niceties, I've been thinking a lot about that lately with, kind of like the way that we're conditioned to function in a society has conditioned us all within certain ways of being. And it seems like as people are becoming tired of that it's like that ambiguity is broken down less and less, that things are becoming more clear. This is
Absolutely.
what that made me think of as you guys were talking.
And the way I see what you just described, Mandy, is identifying more or seeing more clearly the intention behind everything, the intention behind the word, the intention behind the work, the intention behind our lives. Every act has an intention behind it. And often people don't get an intention, but don't having an intention, it is in a way an intention, right? If you just act on your autopilot, that means a lot. And when you become more aware of yourself and you become aware of the intention you put on your actions, on your decisions, you start seeing more clearly like the word around and the intentions behind all of the mechanisms. And when I said we're gonna see more clearly, for me that describes exactly this multidimensional world that you're going to live. It's about perceiving those intentions behind everything. And I think only being aware of that, it's such a big shift.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when those things happen and you start seeing more clearly and seeing those patterns, that's when you start getting more and more control of the wheel, right? That you were talking about earlier. It's like that's when you can take the responsibility because you can see it, right? And
Yeah.
you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of hold yourself to a higher standard, or if you need to, and do what is you're supposed to be doing. Not so much in that like karma driven
Yeah.
reality of just impulse, just doing things, right? You're using your free will a little bit more. I like how you said that. It kind of brought it all full